I'm back, kind of. Hey guys, welcome to the Business RPG Podcast. My name is Sir Isaac, and I'm your host. And today, I'm just going to give you guys an update. Not a whole lot of script in this, but I did want to touch base before going into a bunch of the other episodes. If you're someone who's just here for the interviews and the content, feel free to skip. The short version of the story is I could not keep up with everything that we were doing. And my wife was a trooper. She was absolutely all hands on board for whatever it was we were going to do. But I hit a burnout point at the end of last year. And this is not the first time I've tried restarting the business RPG since the lockdowns. In fact, I think this is like the third time I've tried restarting it. And every single time I've tried, something has happened. It usually results in me getting sick. Like burnout kind of sick, where I'm doing so much that my body cannot fend off something that happens to me, and then I get sick just as a result of taking on too much. And I don't want to sound ungrateful or complaining. There's a lot of you guys who have listened and followed, and even the short time that we were making consistent content last time we tried to restart have been very encouraging. And shout out to the new people who've come. A lot of new people have come in, especially on Rumble. That was really cool. But it happened again. I sat down, I did a series of really solid interviews with some people I was really excited to meet and interview and share with you guys. I was doing too much and I did not have a choice but to let something go. Fortunately, God provided, things worked out. I was able to say no to a few projects. I was able to back away. I was able to say no to clients in general, and that's probably an episode worth doing just later down the road when I feel like doing a solo one. But after a while, I went and talked to a nutritionist. I went and talked to Jordan, actually, and just had a heart-to-heart on where I was at. And the bottom line was I needed to be doing less and I needed to be taking care of myself more. Now, I hear that from entrepreneur podcasts and self-help podcasts all the time. And I don't like that kind of content. It's not for me. And I think part of that comes down to the formula of a podcast. There is a degree to which you are here about what it is you get out of the podcast. You know, you are the hero of the journey. You are Luke Skywalker looking for the Yoda. You are the Karate Kid looking for the Mr. Miyagi's. And it's not that I'm trying to paint myself as some person to aspire to be. By no means. I am just a guy with a microphone who happens to make money helping other people get behind a microphone. But that is the short version of what happened, and I needed to take care of myself a bit more. Now, I understand why other content creators will make content like that, and these are people who have a lot bigger audience than we do. But it makes sense. It makes sense that there is a degree to which you have to let business be business and personal life be personal life, and never the two shall meet unless you happen to love what you do. And it goes into your personal life. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the two on here. It's something I'm working through, and maybe I can do another episode at some point sharing some of the things that I've discovered. I want to create some value here in the short time that we are together to just outline what it is we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it different. I don't want to get burnt out again, and I don't want to waste y'all's time, and I definitely don't want to waste my time. But the bottom line is the business RPG is an asset. It's an asset for our business because it is something that I use as a portfolio to show other people what it's like to do a podcast. It's something that is an asset for me because of all the lessons that I get to learn from these other entrepreneurs who are doing things that maybe someday I want to do. It is an asset in that it allows me to keep sharp as a podcast producer and as a podcast host. In other words, I get to get the best of both worlds. And I can empathize a whole lot more with our clients and the people that we work with. It is an asset in that someday I want it to be a larger brand and a larger platform where you guys can interact with us. You guys can meet and ask your own questions that make it onto the podcast. That we can turn this into a larger column of what we do and make it revenue producing, sure. but make it something to where a lot of people learn, can get educated, and can connect. I love making connections. I love connecting the dots and helping people, guests or audience members, get to know each other. And so there is an ambition behind this podcast and making it happen. And it's important that it happens. So we have to do things, but we have to do them different. Because otherwise I'm approaching another position to where if I try and take this podcast on in the way that we were doing it and this channel on, then I'm going to hit that wall. We have, I think, 3 or 4 proposals out right now. And if any one of them go to contract, then that's going to get us that much more full in what we have time for right now. I don't mean to gloat. I think that kind of comes across as gloating. I apologize. But I do think it's important for me to recognize where we're at. Major shout out to my wife again in all this, because she has taken on full production of the Business RPG podcast. She owns this. She is creative and is using that creativity to also give feedback and things, but also take executive control and make decisions on what stays in and what doesn't stay in an interview. And that is extremely valuable. I don't want you guys to get the impression that it is all Sir Isaac, because it is not. The business that we've built, it's not all me. But the role that I have played is one I need to be accountable for, because if I go down and I'm sick, not only does this show suffer, but everything else suffers too. And I have to own it to my clients, to my wife, to my family, to my God, to be a good steward of the things that we've been blessed with. And I'm trying to do a better job of that. So that's all I'm going to say as far as woe is me. Let's talk about something practical and actionary, which is next steps. We've decided we're going to pursue the channel again in a monthly format. As things allow themselves to grow, and as maybe some of the team members that we have in our businesses start to overlap and help us more with this channel, I could see us starting to be able to do more content. But right now we're going to focus on the things that we actually have time for. We're going to be doing monthly releases of the podcast. I haven't decided what week and what day of the week it's going to be. It'll probably be towards the beginning or the end of each month, probably not in the very middle. But it's something that we'll be able to do on a regular, consistent basis that you guys will be able to be prepared for. The good news is we've already recorded, I think, 3 interviews that we have prepared before I went down towards the beginning of the year. And again, major shout out to those guests as to waiting this long for things to be in a situation where we could return. It's not something that they probably would have preferred, but so far the responses have been very understanding. But we will get those episodes out, and in the meantime, I'm in a situation to where I can start recording some new episodes with some new guests and maybe some solo content here and there. But also there's another couple of projects that I would like to share with you guys on this channel. I think it would make sense for us to continue doing content that pertains to the businesses that we have and the practical application of the lessons we learned from this podcast and how they are made evident in what we do day to day in our production business and our reselling business. So that's something I'd like to share with you guys. And I'd also like to get back to making regular videos pertaining to our reselling business. That's something that you guys, especially on Rumble, but on the YouTube side, seem to enjoy as much as you did the podcast episodes. For some of you guys who only listen to the podcast, we do have some YouTube videos that we put together just outlining some of the things that we do in our other businesses, where you can also see Mrs. Business RPG in a couple of those videos too. But it's some content that is fun to make, something that we could also share with you guys, but even that's going to be in a limited capacity. Now, I know the YouTube algorithm rewards consistency, but also I see people who focus on quality are rewarded, and we're kind of in this situation where we might not have either one. It's not that it's going to be secondhand content, but it might not be something as well polished as what we could do. But I'm more interested in getting content out there and getting started and starting those building blocks than having nothing at all. So that's going to be some of what you guys start to see. We're leveraging our reselling business into buying a house, so I'd like to do a series on that. We have the packaging videos I was doing. I don't think I could do those nearly as often, but that's something that I think we could get back into doing too. But the one thing for sure I know that we can control right now and have the bandwidth for is the podcast interviews. So we're going to go back to making some of those. I think the next 2 or 3 that are coming up are ones that were done in the context of end of last year, beginning of this year. It is currently August of 2025. So there's a lot of context and a lot of things in the world have changed between now and then. None of it really gets in the way of the content itself. I think that these principles and ideas in interviews are evergreen. They're going to apply for a long time. I want to give value to you guys. There are people who have reached out and asked questions. There are people who have been wondering. No one so much is concerned, just understanding that this is something that has had to come second for us in the number of other things that we're responsible for. And as we start to get closer to our goals, I could see the content shifting. But I do want to get back to doing the interviews and get to a point where we could start to develop this into other content as well. So guys, that is the long version of what's been going on. I hope that you are able to find value in the podcast and some of the past interviews that we've done. I hope and thank a lot of you for sticking around and just popping back in. If it's your first time visiting the channel, welcome. My name is Sir Isaac. I'm the host of the Business RPG and one part of the team behind this project. And we are a podcast that specializes in featuring and showcasing nerdy entrepreneurs, your game store owners, your game TTRPG and TCG gamers and store owners, your YouTube creators, your different people in different niches that all pertain to something of nerddom. So if you are a nerd, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are looking for content like this, you are in the right place. Be sure that you share the show with a friend, subscribe so you never miss a new episode. I will announce soon, I hope, as to when that schedule is going to be. But in the meantime, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being part of this as we rebrand and rephrase and restructure what it is we're going to be doing for this relaunch of the Business RPG. In the meantime, until next time, I will see you then.